Minnesota, 1927. An unknown shoelace maker's son sketches out the idea that would soon make him famous. An idea that would change the way we all live. An idea that would make him a legend. This is Edgar J. Silly, creator of Silly String. He was an innovator, a dreamer, and a legend. This is the incredible story of Edgar's rise to fame and descent into obscurity. I don't think people realize what a risk Edgar was taking when he created Silly String. There had never been anything on the market like Silly String before. It had never been done, and it shocked the world of novelty items.
There will only be one genius in the history of novelty items, and that is Edgar J. Silly. There's really no doubt at all in my mind that he is the only one worthy of serious discussion among the likes of Mozart and Da Vinci, other great artists. He's the only one that compares.
It was 1901, the dawn of the 20th century. Thomas Edison had recently taken the world by storm with the invention of the phonograph, the light bulb, and the motion picture camera. It was an age of invention. Edgar was born into this exciting new era in Clunkville, Massachusetts on April 31st. His father, Rutherford Longfellow Silly, was a judgmental, calculating man who had made a name for himself in the shoelace business. Rutherford Longfellow Silly was not an abusive father. A lot of people have tried to make that claim. Doesn't seem to hold any water. What we do know is that he was a very rigid, judgmental father, and he was not at all approving of Edgar going into novelty items. Edgar was the eldest of 3 sons, but both of his younger siblings died in grisly mashed potato-related accidents at a very young age. These events haunted Edgar all throughout his life, and he refused to ever eat mashed potatoes again. Edgar did very poorly in school. He was always causing trouble. He was flinging rubber bands and shooting spitballs, and he was fascinated by flinging spaghetti in the cafeteria. All these things would come back in his work later, but he didn't do it all well in school, failed all of his classes, and eventually when he hit high school, he dropped out. He was quickly hired by Eddie Schlesinger, who set him to work on making chattery teeth. The work was grueling. Each set of teeth had to be handcrafted, and Edgar worked 20 hours each day for only 5 cents.
Yes, the years at the Chattering Teeth Company were the worst years of Edgar's life. He hated working on that product. It was the same thing every time, same old idea. The chattering teeth, so unoriginal, and I think that is what really bothered Edgar, is the unoriginality.
It was in his free time, though, that Edgar hit on something grand. Edgar had long been fascinated by string, flammable solvent, and squirting things, and Edgar found a way to combine these interests into his magnum opus, the Silly String. Everyone laughed. Edgar was told it would never work, and that he should stick to chattering teeth. Edgar pressed on. And on February 30th, 1927, he launched his first test of his invention, then titled the solvent projectile. The test was a rousing success. Edgar rushed out to patent his invention and proceeded to make arrangements to unveil his great invention to the world at the Great Minnesota Novelty Expo of 1927. The expo was a complete disaster. He went up on the stage to present his Silly String, and it wouldn't come out. There was a glitch, and nothing came out. It was very embarrassing for him, and it practically killed the entire Silly String idea. He almost gave up on it. Edgar's failure at the expo made him the laughingstock of the novelty world. Competitors referred to him as a fool and a dreamer, and stated that the idea of squirting string out of a can was as ludicrous as pigs flying. Unfettered, Edgar sought out distributors all over the nation, and he finally ran into Whammo, who decided to give the young inventor a chance. The decision paid off. It was huge. In the late 1930s, of course, it was a very popular expression to say, well, silly my string. And, of course, silly string was used in the war effort. Soldiers were armed with silly string and they would spray it in the eyes of the enemy. That's where the very popular propaganda poster, "Give 'em silly string," comes from. And of course, a lot of baby boomers remember some of the earliest TV commercials from the late 40s and early 50s that featured Silly the Seagull, who was always trying to steal the kids' silly string and take it for himself. But of course, they never let him have it. Silly String's success was fully due to the determination of its creator. Edgar was a very hard worker, and he always got the job done. He was a complex, difficult man, devoted to his passions and intolerant of any obstacles. He was brutally critical of his own work, and insisted that every strand of silly string be of the utmost quality. Unfortunately, at the height of his success, fake vomit took over the novelty items industry. Suddenly, silly string was considered passé, and Edgar was tossed to the side. All of a sudden, the demand just died, and fake vomit was everywhere. And Edgar could have done fake vomit. He could have done even better fake vomit than was out there, but he wouldn't descend to it. He said, if the public doesn't understand my genius and they prefer this lowbrow stuff, then I'm out. Edgar always spoke very critically of fake vomit. He didn't like it at all. He felt it was a low point of novelty items, and he wanted no part of it. He said, screw it, basically. That's what he said. Rejected, Edgar became a drug addict, snorting silly string straight from the bottle. As Edgar wrote in his journal at the time, "My career has plummeted like a slinky toppling end over end down a flight of stairs. Food is tasteless to me, as if I were a set of chattery teeth, constantly chomping but without the capacity to taste or digest. And sleep is as useless as attempting to read through the aid of Groucho Marx glasses. If you were to look at me through X-ray glasses, you would find a broken heart. I have often identified with my own silly string invention. I push myself and shoot out different ideas. But now, it seems my can has run dry." He was at the end of his rope, or string, I guess, and it's insane, because one minute he's the phenomenon of the age, and then the next minute, no one cares. In 1956, Edgar went out for a walk and never returned. No one heard from the inventor of silly string ever again, although his hat was found in his yard, covered in string. Edgar J. Silly changed the way we look at novelty items. He revolutionized the medium and shocked the country. Edgar J. Silly was nothing short of a genius. His string will spray on forever.